Hey guys, Jen Graves doing a video for all of you. If you've already read it, basically it is conquering your TBR. And how can you do that? Well, there's some easy tips that your old buddy Jen Graves is going to give you. So basically, number one, and I feel like this is the biggest thing for me. That's the other good part about it is I go through this a lot. So number one, I would say is you need to organize kind of your shelves into your game plan, which is basically like making it a goal of what it is. So if you guys have stuff, or you've seen my kind of like room tour, you know I have two bookshelves that are full, stacked in front of each other, everything basically stacked to the gills of manga. And so it's all doubled up on both shelves. There's a lot on there. So I have that one, and I have a second shelf that's over here on the left. Some people have seen it, not very much. But what I have organized on this one currently for myself is anything that I am trying to finish reading. Either I started at one point, maybe I only read the first volume, maybe I'm 5 volumes into it, maybe it's One Piece because everything keeps coming out and I have to not focus on reading that all the time because obviously that would get old. But I put everything on there so that I can complete and move forward, read, and conquer those goals. So that's kind of where part of that is. I have it split up that way, and then I have my other bookshelves that I have basically before they either get put in boxes like this or find a permanent space because they're books that are too big. I have other ones just to kind of show me where I'm at in those series, which I feel like too is a game changer. If you can see where you are at in a series and all that, then you're good. But you also have to have some kind of open space. If you have a bookshelf and you have one open space or whatever, or you have another bookshelf you can move completed things to or whatever, that makes a game changer as well, because then you can grab that stuff. Right now I'm reading Manga. This was the last one I read right here. This is volume 29. And so I have all of Manga on this shelf right here, my trying to get done and completed and moving all my completed volumes to that shelf. Well, whenever that gets done, because it is a smaller one, it'll move to one of these white boxes. Being able to see the space where it was and that my shelf is actually getting cleared out, and being able to see that accomplishment, I feel like is a really big thing. And it gives you a little fuel to keep going forward. I feel like that is one of the big game changers with this, compared to something you would read and just stick back into the shelf, something like that. So as you can see, I haven't touched to read, partially touched to read, and working on getting it off the shelf. That's how it's kind of all set up in my room. So that's a really big thing I feel like you can do, on top of organize it out. Like I said, that's one of the big things you can do with that, setting your goal to set those up, which in essence a goal in itself, which is really good. Whenever you get to sit there and actually make your shelves look good, make it into a working thing of how you like it, how it flows, whether you like to put in different sections, whatever, you just make it work for you to try and accomplish getting through that TBR. So that's basically still number one. Number two is basically getting yourself to read. Like I said before, with looking at it, I think being able to see your stuff and saying, okay, I'm accomplishing this, I'm getting through this series, taking it off the shelves, me being able to take the volumes of Manga off the shelf and see that that space is disappearing, I think helps me out, because then it's kind of like I have this internal timer that's like, oh, hey, I'm almost here. I'm almost done. Let's get ready for the next series I'm going to try and complete, or something like that. And then, so still in number 2, make sure you just continue to read. Honestly, it's not really a bad thing if right now, being at volume 29, I might finish volume 30, and after that there's 7 volumes left. And if I just put them back on the shelf, I should not feel upset about that. Maybe I get tired of the series, maybe something like that happens. But as most of us know, there are always other ones out there to read. So instead of reading that one, I can reach over here. Let me do that real quick. And this is one that's on my top. This is another one to read. And I can say, okay, well, I'm going to put Manga on the back burner. I'm coming back to it, but it's not something that I feel like I'm enjoying at the time, that I just want to continue reading or something like that. So I can go through and say, hey, I have these other options. And I get Dragon Ghost House Hunting Volume 4, basically up to date on it, all this other stuff. And that's something that's going to give me a little relief from trying to finish off that series, because sometimes if you're focused on reading the same series, it can be overwhelming. It's and especially a big series. I was 20 volumes in Magi. It's a 37 volume series, and I stopped for a while because I was like, I can't continue to read this. It's just not piquing my interest anymore. I'm not enjoying it. So that's why those books got put back on the shelf. And now obviously I've covered 10 and ready to cover the other 7. But you should not put pressure on yourself to sit there and try and stay with the same series if you're not wanting to enjoy it. I know some people can sit there and read a whole series. I've done that with certain series as well. But some bigger series, it's really okay. It's better for you to sit there and put it on the back burner instead of making yourself suffer through it. The way I like to think of it is put yourself in high hopes when you're reading a series, that a way you enjoy it to the fullest and things like that, instead of sitting there and reading it and forcing yourself to do it, because at some point you could do that. And when people say, hey, how did you like that series? And you just go, it was horrible. I hated it. I forced myself to read it. And that reaction is something that can make you draw other people away from that series. And deep down, you probably really love that series. You could go back and actually say, hey, there's more stuff I pulled out of it. For some reason, at that time, I just didn't really enjoy it. So that's what I'm saying. Don't feel pressured. Don't feel bad about it. Take the rest of that, put it back on the shelf, and then continue another series. Like I said, it's okay for you to do that. It's not something that you have to accomplish right now, especially if you have one-shots. You have a new series that you started. You have a series that's only 4 books, 5 books, something that you can finish in a day or so, or finish, in a good time. Having a huge series sometimes can be discouraging. You are going to have to take breaks most of the time with stuff like that. It's not going to be something you want to focus on all the time, especially with other things that are coming out, other things that you enjoy and that you want to focus on. So another thing that you can do is, and this is 2 different ways. So this is step 3, 2 different ways. We'll go with A first. A is you can stop buying. You don't have to keep consuming all that stuff and having it and getting discouraged. I know, like with my grouping, I work off of a percentage of my set on top of like it laid out, because I've read, I think 4,500 or something like that of mine. You know, so I have a little table that says read this much out of this much, you know, something like that. And that's how I envision it in my head. I'm 85% of the way through my collection. I'm such and such of the way through my collection, which makes it really, really fun to do that and be able to actually see that. And that's not a bad thing either. It does hurt a little bit probably on a buying trend. If something comes out and you really want that, sometimes I know some series will go like fire and just disappear off the face of the earth and you won't be able to get them. So you do kind of have to consider that a little, but honestly, you can sit there and have it come from your haul or your order and read up to that without buying more, and then turn around and say, okay, well, now that I've finished this set of books, this haul that came in, I'm going to do another haul and I'm going to read that when that comes in, and then I'm going to do another one. You don't have to say, I have to continuously have books coming in, stuff like that. Way two is that continuousness. Knowing, hey, this is what's coming in, and you are basically telling yourself you have to make sure you read these books. While I'm one of the B-type people, I also like to sit there and figure out my choices, you know, or my options. I like to sit there and say, okay, this is what I want to read. Like I said, if I want to put Manga on the back burner again, then I can jump into something else. It's not like I'm pressured. So sometimes that, knowing that you're giving yourself with bite-sized pieces to consume here and there, or giving yourself this big thing and knowing that you can put it in the fridge or in the freezer and save it and take small amounts of it as you go, that's kind of the mindset you have to put into it, is still cutting that off at some point, whether you have a TBR bookshelf just dedicated to it, or you just have one little spot on your nightstand to read through certain things. It's all a bite-sized piece, depending on how you handle it. If it's in another room or something like that, so you know where it's at and what you can consume. Especially, I mean, if you were just given like 100 volumes or something and you were told you have to read these, you know, and it's I feel like some people almost think it's that you're given these 100 volumes and you're told you have to read it in a week or it's just going to disappear. That's not the thing. You bought it. It's yours. You don't have to worry about it. So just go at your own pace. So, and then step 4, which is probably the easiest step to remember, honestly, is just put in your head to go through the first 3 steps. It's one of those things that you can know what it is and that you can continue that. You know, when you have it go repetitive and you know, okay, I'm going to get these, I'm going to focus on these, I'm going to read them, I'm going to complete them, I'm going to move on to another one. You can continuously do that, which is also kind of like in step 3, like we talked about with buying more. That's also in that rotation. You can get them and pull them back in and say, okay, well, let me get these new manga, let me continue and move forward with it. So, I mean, you do have a lot of different options here. You do have a lot of different things that you can focus on and figure out what you want to do and be able to accomplish those goals, because obviously at the end of the day, you're going to do that. You're definitely going to pick those up and read them and make sure that you enjoy them to the fullest, or at least try and accomplish your goals of finishing those. So you do have a good amount of stuff to do. But yeah, so hopefully this video helped you guys. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. If there's more steps you think you could add into it, or like on your personal list. I know my personal list is a little different than just this. This is a very common set list that I believe will help most people out. And it doesn't put more strain or contingency on it than what we've already focused on. It doesn't make your style of reading like my style of reading, because obviously my style is not going to be for everybody, and everybody else's is, we're all going to have a unique way of reading manga and how to get through it. So anyway, thanks for watching. I will catch you guys later. I'm Jen Graves. Bye.